Alright, and I'm Mini Hades, and today we are going to be kind of defending this cop, just because there's a few things that don't quite seem like they add up. I've done some scouring. I could not find a good copy, just a bunch of basically the same angle, but in various shitty forms. I found the best copy I could find. Audio's kind of shit. Gonna boost it the best I can, and hopefully that'll make all the difference in the world. In the meantime, because it's kind of boring just watching me just stand here or sit over there, I think today we're gonna go for a little bike ride. Okay, so this video is like 12 and a half minutes long, a little longer than that, and obviously I can't show all of it.
Nope.
So what I am going to showcase is the bit that I'd actually like to focus on, and that is where I think the teacher fucked up. Because she does some heavy complaining for a nice little while, and it's actually roughly about this moment, right about here.
Superintendent, how are you going to take a raise when there's ELA? When I first started teaching ELA, there was like 20, 21 kids in a class, and now there's 29 kids in a class that we are now having, and we have not gotten raises. How are you going to take that money? Because it's basically taking out of the pockets of teachers.
Stop right now.
So I think that's the moment where she really fucked up, because previous to that point, she, she's like, think of the children, this kind of sucks for the teachers, yada yada. Isn't that exactly what she said in that complaint? I'm getting to it. But it was more oriented towards oh, I think the conditions need to improve, more or less. The reason why I think that's the moment she kind of fucked up is because it stopped being maybe we could improve conditions and then became more a slanderous accusation. It was no longer like, well, maybe we could take that money and give it to the schools, and more so became, you're a fucking thief, you're stealing from us, you need to go away, and repercussions and yada yada. That's where she really fucked up, because if you're gonna slander somebody with some accusations like you're a thief, you slightly actually kind of need to be able to back up your allegations. Otherwise it's a defamatory statement, which is slightly against the law. And I think it's mostly a fine, maybe a small jail sentence. I'd actually have to look that up, but I know that it's frowned upon legally. It's also worth noting, I'm not entirely certain if this is true, but certain sources have stated that apparently this gentleman has not taken a break yet, or a raise yet, and that he's met several deadlines and has raised the overall testing score and grade point average. So, kind of sounds like he deserves it, in my opinion, and the fact that he hasn't taken one yet, especially if that's true, definitely kind of sounds like he deserves it, in my opinion. But yeah, the moment you start making accusations, that's where you kind of mess up a little. It's okay to be like, I don't like this, I think that this is wrong, but the moment you go, this is coming out of my pocket, I'm pretty sure this is an administrative gentleman. This gentleman is in the higher echelons of education, and thus your salary comes out of his pocket, so technically you are stealing from him. If you want to look at it that way, which it's not really, because it's actually trade of services for goods, or well, goods being the money and services being the fact that she's a teacher teaching. But nevertheless, though, like her salary comes out of his pocket, not the other way around. So him getting a raise does not affect her in the slightest. Unless they're actually taking away from the teachers. They're like, okay, well we're gonna cut your pay and bring it over to, which then I think you have a legal case. But unless you can actually prove that that's what they're doing, you don't. If anything, they have a case against you for slander and defamatory statements. Alright, the next little bit, she doesn't really reinforce her, like, she tries to drive home the point, but she doesn't, like, reinforce her point with, like, any sort of statistics or anything, really. She just continues blurting out, but you're stealing from us, which is, again, a slanderous accusation and a defamatory statement, and, you know, she's already been asked once to stop by, you know, the council at the presenting. So it's no surprise when the cop comes over and tells her, you know, you need to leave because you kind of disrupting the event. I'm not really sure what to really call the event in question. And yeah, it's like when the cop comes over that I kind of really want to speculate on. But before we get to that, a couple things that I just want to mention. I've known this since grade 10 because I've had numerous teachers tell me this. So at the very least, they should have known roughly about the time of the interview for their job, if not beforehand. But let's say that they went in completely blind all the way up until the interview. At the interview, they're usually told that you will get a raise, I believe, every 2 years. And it caps out, I believe, at 16 years. And that at 16 years, you are going to make the most you will ever make as a teacher. Now, I quote, as a teacher. However, if you make it to like vice principal, if you make it to principal, if you make it to administrative, then your cap, the count is reset back to 0, and then is under a new circumstance because 99.9% of jobs out there have a cap. So whatever the new cap is, then that's where it's going to cap out at that level of job. And if you make it on to the next level, again, right back down to 0. And again, new set of rules for your promotions. But I, myself, again, knew that at grade 10, so roughly about 16, 17, probably about 16, I think I was. I digress, though. Yeah, she does this, like, when the cop comes around, she does this weird bit where, like, he's, like, literally talking directly to her. He's like, listen, you know, you have to leave. And she, like, puts her hand up in his fucking face and, like, leans over and, like, completely ignores the hell out of him until he doesn't really give her much of an option to not ignore him. But, I digress. I'll show instead of tell.
Thank y'all very much. Anybody else?
Excuse me, officer. Can I not stand when I'm being spoken to?
Anybody?
Is there a rule?
You're gonna leave, or I'm gonna remove you. Take your things and go.
Are you serious? I hope somebody has this on video.
Take your things and go.
Excuse me.
All right, 4 minutes
Is it
commentary.
against policy to stand?
Sir,
Do not.
hold on. Take your things and go.
I love it. I love it. Twice. Just, no, I'm not talking to you. You may be the law. You may be an officer. You may have legal authority over me. You may be asking me to leave. But I'm not talking to you. You can go fuck yourself. I'm going to talk to the council some more. Over you. I love it too, right? Like, clearly he's been hired to, like, bodyguard and like, security this bitch, right? And he's like, listen, like, you need to leave one way or another, and, like, kind of like little just not even all that firm of a little grab on the arm, and just Like, you're getting the fuck out of here. And then you hear that, like, don't touch, like that, I'm gonna mess you up, don't touch me tone. This is one of the first moments that kind of reinforce a point that I want to make regarding how, like, the standard lately for the last 2 years has been not like realize you have lost the argument, or like just lost the election, lost the whatever you've lost, right? Like, instead of just losing gracefully, picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and trying a little harder next time, the standard has been set lately in the last 2 years that if you fail, don't just, like, try harder next time. Get offended, cause a scene, throw a temper tantrum, scream and shout, like, it's kind of been like a weird standard the last couple of years that, like, instead of having respect for yourself and others, everyone seems to just want to be offended and cause a scene. Because this is the third moment, and she actually has 2 moments back to back in this little bit where she's just, like, completely ignoring the fucking officer. She even flat out says to the officer, like, I'm not fucking talking to you, fuck you, I'm talking to the council behind you. Even though you're clearly security and you're asking me to leave, I don't, screw you, I'm talking to the guy behind you. Like, that's not how it goes. You can't, let's say, like, I got pulled over right now because, like, as I've been driving, thank God it's a video game, because I've broken a million traffic laws. If a cop pulls up behind me, pulls me over, I have to, get off my bike, and I'm chatting away, and I suddenly just turn to somebody else, completely somebody else, and just, hey, how's it going? Yeah, fuck this guy behind me. I don't want to deal with the cop behind me. Screw him. Yeah, that cop is gonna get pissed off, and what would have been like a ticket could very well be like a punch in the side of the head. Mostly because I'm a guy. I'm sure he wouldn't just punch the chick in the side of the head, but he does throw her down on the ground at some point. But, like, I'm gonna make that point when we get there.
This is the most disgraceful and distasteful thing I
Want
ever
another
seen.
comment?
A comment.
She wasn't talking to you, she was talking to
It was
Mr. Vito.
it was
I don't
comments
want
for the
another-
superintendent.
I don't want the audience commenting without being recognized.
She was recognized.
He was recognized.
By you.
And
He was
and
speaking to me directly.
That's
And
right.
he responded to her.
That's exactly right.
But you run everything. He did.
All right,
And the superintendent can't even look at her when she's talking.
Okay, so,
Wow.
I'm pretty sad.
However you want to do it.
This is pretty sad. Our children.
My name is Angel Campbell.
Wait a minute, I asked for it, we'll hold them a comment here and recognize Sarah.
Just put her in handcuffs.
Apologize to the public.
He did not.
That right there to me is the weirdest moment in all of the video, the entirety of the video. I don't even want to show her, like, face down in the hallway, because I don't want anyone feeling any sympathy whatsoever, because this looks very shady to me. Like, I'm assuming that's their friend, because it's really weird how they left in very, very close proximity, but not at the same time. Like, I could see being really pissed off and wanting to leave and stuff like that, right? I would have left immediately with the person, or even just sitting there and letting it stew for a while, right? But who just sits there, counts out roughly about 10 Mississippis, walks out immediately as her face is on the ground and she's being put under arrest. Like, to me, that's shady as hell. And the remarkable calmness, like, oh, let me try this. Hi, I don't mean to alarm anyone. I was actually sorry to the public, but he's putting her under arrest. But for me, though, like, it's the weirdest moment is, like, how that was weirdly perfectly timed. that like the moment that the other person goes to leave and happens to finally reach the door is the moment that all of a sudden, you know, she's just face down. That's either a hell of a coincidence or some pretty good timing and a well thought out plan. Like, for the record, like, she could have very well, you know, gotten out into the hall and turned around and, I'm really sorry, that was super disrespectful of me. I should have had better tact. I should have maybe not tried to cause a scene in a hearing. You know, maybe showed some of that professionalism I'm expected to exhibit in front of small to medium-sized children. You know, she could have said all of that. She could have, you know, real respectful. You know, let's just shake hands, bygones be bygones. I'll just leave, and then all of a sudden, as she's shaking his hand, he's whipping her around and slamming her down, and that's very well what could have happened. Or, far more likely, she has taken after the example that is like the rest of the world the last 2 years, realizes after getting out in the hall that she has lost. Perhaps that wasn't even the plan from the beginning. Perhaps even before even going there, she turned to her friend, who happened to have remarkable timing, and was like, you know, what if I became a martyr for all teachers so that we can get better salaries and whatnot, and, you know, I'm gonna cause a scene. I'm gonna drag somebody away, somebody of authority, try and convince them to talk to me one-on-one somehow, and cause a scene until they're assaulting me, and then you need to come across it and either videotape it or bring a crowd. Like, that's the way that comes across to me. Now, I could just be jaded, because I've been keeping track of this for the last, like, 6 years, back when Dorkley made a joke really, really long time ago about the social justice warrior in RPGs, and I started looking into it roughly about then, and so, like, I could be jaded. But just personally, as far as I'm concerned, though, they do have a case regarding slander. The rest of it is just completely speculatory conspiracy theory that we will never find out unless we find out Buddy has a body cam, which I feel like we would have found the footage by now, but I digress. Why don't you let me know what you think down below, and you have yourself a good day, evening, or whenever the hell you watch this. Take care.